the south. I'd rather see you up than see you down.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Tatiana Irvin, Dr. Tatiana Irvin. Thank you so much for coming. And great book. I'm excited to hear you talk about it. I'd love to get into the minds of authors. So thank you all for coming on a cold night. And have a seat. We are going to talk about, well, first of all, I read your book. I liked it. I really did. It was great. I want you to give us a 5-minute elevator pitch. Why should we buy the book?
Okay. I have thought about how I wanted to warm into the idea of why I wrote the book, why you should read the book, why the book is unique in its own way. And first I kind of want to start with what may bring a really obvious level of connectedness that we all have with one another by playing a little did you know game. And we have got some wonderful participants that have shown up tonight, and I would just ask that whoever has number 1, would you please read to us what it says? Hi, lovely.
Did you know over 90% of the world population polled believe in a higher power, divine creator or creative source, most referred to as deity?
Did you know? Thank you. Thank you, Janine.
Thank you.
Who is lucky number 2?
Did you know recent Gallup poll revealed that 3 out of 4 Americans believe in some form of paranormal activity? And a recent Harris poll revealed that 71% of Americans believe in miracles. 42% of Americans believe that ghosts exist. 41% think that extrasensory perception, e.g. telepathy, is possible. And 29% believe in astrology.
Thank you. Nakoa? Who is lucky number 3? You got here just in the nick of time to be lucky number 3. All right. What is
Those shoes are fantastic. Show those.
Did you know, per Gallup, over 5% of all Americans claim to have had a near-death experience?
Pretty profound. And she came styling in that near-death message. All right, lucky number 4.
Number 4.
Edward. Show his shoes as well. This is important. Give him that feedback.
Did you know that the 3rd most prescribed and taken medication in the West is an antidepressant? That's pretty sad.
But true. Lucky number 5 would be lovely Lisa. Come on up here, my dear.
Look at her boot.
Yes.
I am really sporty.
She's stealth.
Did you know that evolving science, in particular quantum science and quantum mechanics, is now discovering that the basic elements of nature are more wave than mass and appear to show intelligence that can be influenced?
Thank you. So the reason for playing this little did you know game is to get us all thinking. Is there something synonymous? Is there something linked to what we just shared? And I would say, as an advocate and now an author of the consciousness concept of waking up and recognizing that science is proving very much what esoteric wisdom, philosophy, religion, dogma, all of us have been influenced to some degree or another. That we are actually so amazingly and divinely connected. It was the missing link in my understanding as experience came before the book, and it had to for me. I was encouraged to write the book by 2 very dear friends of mine in Colorado. I was just having a telephone call with them one day, and I was telling them some of these really cool things that were happening in session with my clients. And they are professional researching ufologists. You can kind of read into that one a little bit. They believe in things that are not terribly mainstream, but they're not experiencers. They are just really fascinated by what are the ties that bind? Why are all these stories? How do we research them? How do we make sense out of this? How does it bring relevance into our lives? And they said, these are really cool stories, Tatiana. You need to write this down. And I said, oh, there's so many books out there. There's so much good literature, and there's people that can write better than me. And personally, I'm grating my nails on my keyboard when I do this. Speaking is much more natural to me than having to type my thoughts and then go back and scrutinize. But I thought I can have it done in 2 weeks. So 7.5 years later, I realized why it was important to write it, and I also realized why my voice is another cosmic contribution to the many, many voices that came before me. And giving relevance to these stories also is going to help someone else that's just going to stumble across my book or have it referred by a client, a friend, a colleague of mine, a referral partner, and it is going to be empowering to just the right person at the right time, because bringing it full circle to the did you know, I believe the reason why so many people are taking antidepressants, I believe the reason why there is so much disparity in the world and a sense of fear and disconnection is because we really feel detached and we really do feel isolated in so many ways, even within our own family systems, within our own faith, within our own political party, that if we could get back to the ties that bind and take the esoteric sciences and blend them with these evolving sciences that say where you end and I begin really doesn't have any clear boundary. We are really massive intelligence and beautiful pools of particles that seem to have a lot of profound celestial implications to them. And if we could go back to that, it would remove the need to feel so much separateness, and I think it would be very healing to the psyche as well. So that is why I wrote the book. That is why I think that it could be a contributing factor in any of your lives and those that you would refer it to. And I thank you so much for being here and providing me this time. I'm going to hand it back to Suzanne because she actually has a really clever Q&A. So here you go, my dear. No, she doesn't want it.
Well, I just want to jump back. You said you want to go back to where, things where people were powerful within themselves. And do you think people were like that, or people were just like striving to get through the day? And now people are actually like stepping into themselves and saying, this is who I want to be. This is what I want to feel. Because I have a friend, Patricia Bateson, and she's amazing. She's very into everything that you talk about, and I'm amazed by her. I just don't have the guts or the confidence in myself to actually go there, and feel that. And how do you get people to feel that? And how did you get that?
Okay. So that was a couple of questions. The
was
first
a lot
one,
of
no,
stuff,
that's
yeah.
perfect. That's perfect. The first one that you asked is something that really should have been clarified, actually, because she said, do you think that we ever had that? And I understand that question. It means, was there ever an era? Was there ever a utopian society? There are those that say that there were, but all evidence that we have that we consider factual by today's historical standards would say no. We have interesting origins that could be evolutionary as opposed to more biblical. But what I meant by that was go back to the average child who is not born into great adversity or war or starvation or abuse is in love with themselves and with their world and feels so much more security, again, provided there has not been a very tumultuous start. But the studies that have been done in psychology, especially as it pertains to the developing human psychology in children, is that they don't have that sense of separateness so early on in life. There is a lot less bias. There's certainly much more tender connection between children of various races and belief systems. All of those filters have not been created yet. And if we can see as adults through rational minds and through introspective and reflective hearts and use what we have, which is, hey, there's a lot of strange things we can't explain, and the science is actually getting better at explaining it, and just fundamentally know that there's truth here, I think it'd be easier for us to peel off those filters as adults and have the courage to do exactly what you're saying. Because it just becomes, well, this is what is. It isn't a matter of, gosh, I don't want to be the weirdo. It's, well, this is what is. We understand this now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. When both of my boys were about 2 years old, they're 3 years apart, so they both went through this thing where one of my sons talked about his grandpa, and we never used that term, he said it with an inflection, and it was a very different language, and he talked about doing things that we have never done or talked about or seen.
Yes.
And the other one went through something very similar like that. Do you think we're taught and beaten down to like, that's not real, that's not right, that's not, that's not what's really going on. Stop, that's a great imagination,
Unfortunately, yes, and I want all of you to kind of think about that for a minute. We're about to have Christmas, right? How many of us, please raise your hand, that have had children or been around children that have influenced them, how many of us have told them that there is a Santa Claus? Why do we teach children to keep their mind and their imagination so active, so fiercely alive, and believe in miracles and wonder and things they can't understand, just to turn around and rid them of that a few years into maturity and tell them all of that was just not real? There's no tooth fairy, there's no Easter bunny, there's no miracles, there's no... We do. Society conditions us to actually build them up and then take it back
It is
down.
pretty cool,
and it creates
isn't
some jadedness, I think. Yes, and so...
Do you mean there's really no Santa Claus?
I have children that will tell you that they have had a personal manifestation of Santa Claus themselves. And the truth is, I believe in miracles. I'm a profound believer in them. I've had too many happen. Even having no Christmas presents at one of the most dire, impoverished times of my life and putting out an intention of prayer and having an entire bin full of Christmas presents for my children arrive on Christmas Eve, and I had nothing to give them, I believe that there is a spiritual energy to the concept of Santa Claus, whether there is a bearded man like they show in Polar Express or not. I keep that wonder open because I don't want to be the adult that can't hear the bell.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So you graciously, at the beginning of the book, we'll go back to that, at the beginning of the book, you graciously thank everybody in your life. That really held me into you, even your ex-husband, and, you know, all of your children. That was wonderful. Was that hard to do?
The ex-husband a little bit, yeah. But that was a lesson, and it was a lesson that evolved my life to where it is now, and I
That's
acknowledge
admirable.
that.
So I think we all want to be there. You know, I was watching somebody, actually I was talking to a woman who's, you know, she has a family member that doesn't talk to her, and that person invited her to dinner. I'm like, I admire you that you weren't like, I don't want to do that. And I really do admire that. I think you can get to that different level where it's like, does it suck? Yeah. But, you know, we're not going to ruin everybody's life in my life because of it.
Right.
So how do you get there?
So that's important too. I'm going to take this from you because I know my voice gets a little bit clearer. Getting there for me was again applying the same principles that we're already talking about. If I am here co-creating with a lot of other magnanimous spiritual beings on this sphere, and I have a sense of right and wrong, and I also have an understanding that all experience leads to greater evolution and development, it can allow you to depersonalize things just a little bit. Not in the heat of the moment, or not in the darkest night of the soul, but you do get to the point where you recognize, I'm stronger for what I've just gone through, and I need to be grateful for the lesson. And if everybody's playing roles, I need to be grateful for the villains too, because the villains helped shape me. And I'm a bolder, more lucid, and probably far more contributing person now to being aware and compassionate towards others. So I go into gratitude for those rough times, and I couldn't not acknowledge my children. They have been my biggest teachers because they have experienced things that could not be explained. And out of respect for them and making it more a book that's a tool for others, I did not go into a lot of the specific details that had shaped my evolving practice to protect them, but they've been profound.
Well, I have one other question here. You spoke a lot about the many reasons your children have taught you being a mother. How can we use some of these lessons to get ahead? You know,
Well,
because it's kind of hard when you're going through like those teenage years where you may kill them. But no, did I say that? How do you get over that and just get you like,
it was a good time for you to not be holding the microphone.
Yeah.
That was clever.
My kids are 24 and 21. We're over that, and we made it.
There'll be no death. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that ever stops. I mean, it doesn't. I think that when they're young, if we let them keep their imaginations and we let them believe in what they need to believe, as long as it doesn't directly harm them or we know what level of confidence we need to keep things in, I think it really starts there. I mean, I had one child, and they will remain unnamed, but they were absolutely convinced that they were another gender. And they remember being another gender in a past life, and they even told me how they died. And I didn't believe in that. That did not fit my dogma at all. But I didn't shut that child down. And I had other children that would tell me that there's something standing right over there, and they describe it to me, and I'm thinking, this is really uncomfortable right now. But again, I didn't shut them down. I just sought greater understanding so that I always kept them open and sharing, and we've all learned because that took place. And as they've gotten older, they want to be cool. You know, they don't want to be the weird kid in junior high and high school. They don't want to be the one who was up late last night because they had these recurring nightmares that they're trying to reason through, like a lot of kids do. So many children that are indigo or crystal or have evolved, spiritual or, intuitive abilities don't have a place to go. And because I had to go through that with my children and with my friends and colleagues' children, it was an active part of my practice to help other people's children that had no voice. So really it's giving them their voice back. It's letting them be okay and not weird, and letting them know that they're not
And no
alone.
matter what's going on with them, really giving them their voice back is the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's wild. You mentioned the need to slow down, and you just said that too, watching your children. That frenetic lives, so we can actually pay attention to our intuition.
Yeah.
Do you find that we never do that? We're always on our phone or keeping ourselves busy and constantly not understanding and respecting and having gratitude in our lives.
I appreciate you having that as one of the questions, because this is a season of frenetic energy, and you can feel it, can't you? When you are in the mall, God help you, or you're in a parking lot, or you're just driving up and down Capitol Boulevard, you can feel the intensity. Everybody's peaked. And there's other reasons for that, but I think the holidays, people just think, I got to get it all done. And
it has to be perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of my ways for staying out of picking up as an intuitive that feels people's energy immensely, to not get it all on me like a tar baby, is to open myself up to, please, Divine, run through me, introduce me to, let the right car drive in front of me with the right bumper sticker. I need the sign that keeps me synced today. And I popped open something and I scanned through a couple of notifications, and one of them was linking to one of Oprah's brief little speeches, and I didn't really have time. I told myself I don't have time, and Spirit said, "Yeah, you do. Stop. You ask. Do you want to have this experience?" And I went and listened to it, and her message of the day was, relax. Relax. The one thing that those interviewed elderly say again and again is, if they were to give advice to themselves, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it would be, in retrospect, slow down.
Even with looking back,
It's gonna
with
work.
my kids, I'm like, I wish I had appreciated it more. Who cares about the house?
Right.
Just be with them, read a book, and get down.
Sit on the
play
floor and do a
Matchbox.
puzzle and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's why grandparents love that so much, because they know that.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So,
And they know that time is more precious, and we're kind of filing through things.
yeah.
Yeah, but
And you don't have
quietness
to be
with self
perfect.
is important. We can't get intuitive answers if we don't sit still long enough to
Yeah.
hear them anyway.
But you don't have to be a perfect grandparent. You just have to be liked too. So you can buy the crap and you can.
Is that
do-
true? Okay, I'm working on that with two
I don't
of
know,
mine.
but I think like you enjoy the kids so much, that they do
Mhm.
appreciate it more. It's not like you're frenetically running around and like doing carpool and everything else. So
Yeah,
they do appreciate it.
I've heard that. I'm still working.
And you're baking.
I'm a work in
cookies.
progress.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't started baking cookies. I make him drink green smoothies at this point, so I'm probably not your grandma yet. I am definitely, I love that baby. I love my granddaughter, so.
You have a lot of amazing stories from your clients. Mary's journey
Oh,
was
yeah.
amazing, really. She had, give her a little background and tell us about Mary.
It's ironic that you brought up Mary. I heard from Mary today. I still work with Mary and do distance sessions
It's not
with
ironic.
Mary. Okay.
It's coincidence.
There you go. See? We're already in the
Serendipity, yep.
vibe. That's exactly
We
right.
love Mary.
Mary is a sweet, sweet soul, and Mary was okay with me using her real name. And we changed other names on behalf
It's so
of her
different
story.
from everybody else's name, though. That's good.
Yeah, that
It's
helps,
like
doesn't
Lisa or
it?
Sue, It's a good
Mary to me was a challenge and also a gift in so many ways, because she was probably at the time the eldest client that I had worked with, and she had so much she hadn't processed because there was so much trauma. And there was so much trauma in her life.
Yeah.
Bad divorce, kids that were estranged, there were abusive ex-husbands, and poverty and struggle, and none of her children were talking to her. And so to tell someone, I'm not going to be able to help you to the level that we both want to be successful, to ameliorate your discomfort until we address some things that your heart wounds are holding on to. We have to let go of the emotional connection to it.
And she did.
She did.
Yeah. And
Wow,
she
did
learned
she?
so much because she stepped back, and like her family had her back into the house, and they were inviting her to stay with her, and she's like, no, I don't feel comfortable with this, which was the right decision. But most of the time you want to run to, like, somebody loves me finally, I'm
Yes.
running
Oh, yes.
into that.
It was really
race.
hard when we got the answer she was not meant to live on their property.
And there's a really good reason why.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, for those of you that aren't familiar, there was a murder that took place within a month of her moving back to the
She was
area.
supposed to be in the house, but she decided not to be.
Yes, so her granddaughter was murdered, and she would have been another target of the estranged husband. So it would not have been safe for her to have stayed. And instead it ended up becoming the most healing and ameliorating thing for her to have been that close to the site, that close to, you know, her deceased granddaughter, so that the family had a place to come to resolve everything and to hash out their pain. And she was there for that. It was just such an amazing miracle.
And very healing. Yeah. That was a great story. I really
Thank
like
you.
that. You talk about your some unexpected journey to where you are. What is a particular moment that stands out?
An unexpected journey to where I am.
Yeah. Was there that aha moment? Oprah calls them an aha moment. So is there something like that?
I don't know when I'm not high on aha moments, honestly, because I don't know what happens next. And that's one of the aspects of how I end the book. It's quite honestly, and I'll use that for the reading if you'll all indulge me at the end, I don't know what happens next. I feel like I get up as a co-creator and I have some preferences, but for the most part it's, what do you want me to do now? Because I resisted writing this book for 7 years. It was ridiculous. It was like, I don't want to write this. And then it was, you know, twice its length. It was beefy and filled with all kinds of little ugly dark corners that nobody really wants to read. And then gutting it and editing it. So I think that the ahas, I can't even quantify them at this point. I think it's just a matter of you're constantly living in a state of joyful expectation of what will I be learning next.
So I worked in oncology for 6 years, and I knew like when people would walk in there were some people that had, I don't want to say a nothing cancer, but there were cancers that you know you're going to get over at stage 1. It's a little, not easy, but there were some people that came in so angry, you're like, oh, you're not going to do well.
Right.
And they didn't.
Right.
And then there were so many people that came in and they were like, stage 4, and it's not good, and they would do so well. And I can't understand how that always happens.
Wow.
Not always happens, but it happened more often than not. But when it comes to kids, I hate that. You know, like, why do kids do that? And to have, like, to always be positive about that and always, like, think, like, okay, I have to get to the next step, even when, like, your life is in your hands.
Yeah.
You know, and you're doing everything your doctor's telling you to do, and you're doing everything you're supposed to do. How do you constantly, what would you tell somebody to do to get to a plane in their life where they're okay, they can accept it?
Yeah, that's such a powerful question, and I'm going to try to answer that as concisely as possible, because the evolving science, I'm a metaphysician, I'm not a physicist, that's too much headspace for me, but a metaphysician is really about everything that is beyond and less describable through the restrictive and structured sphere of physics. And it recognizes on a quantum level really that there's so much more that we're contributing in terms of our own creation. So you say, you know, when someone has something like cancer, and I've dealt with several cancer clients, how you think automatically, and this has been proven again and again and again through quantum physics, how we think, especially those repetitive thoughts that create an immediate emotional discharge in our body, which is knee-jerk. It can't even be stopped. We are wired that way. A thought triggers an emotion. Immediately sets up basically neural peptides, biochemical markers all throughout the body that we can become addicted to. The hypothalamus keeps dropping them. So angry people have a tendency to stay angry. Victim-minded people have a tendency to stay victim-minded.
To have that, like, power.
Yeah, that too,
Yeah.
that too.
All that stuff, even being in an abusive situation, your mind becomes addicted to it. So.
Yes. There was somebody said something real funny the other day on TV, and it was basically, look at all of your past lovers and that's your mental illness. And I found that really, really funny, but that wasn't too far off. It makes you take a look at yourself. I would love to just piggyback on that. I recently went and saw an exquisite concert at DPAC, and it was from the piano guys. I'm going to give them full props. And I didn't know enough about them before I got there, which might have been the best thing ever.
Yeah.
The presentation, the talent, the soulfulness was so unexpected that it swept through the entire audience, which was packed. I think it was sold out. And I found myself gasping at different intervals and in tears, realizing the wave of beauty that was being sent out into the audience was then being sent around the audience and back to the performers on the stage. I'm getting emotional just talking about it. And I realized this is the flawless example of what these quantum fields are that we create. What I think and what I feel ruminates around me, and it becomes my flesh, and it becomes my blood, and it becomes my neurochemistry, and then other people feel it. And they either like me or they don't, and they want to be around me or they don't. But when we share in something as exquisite as a cosmic consciousness filling a space like Deepak, all caught up in that much love, there's healing that's taking place in that space. So we're creating our own little mini quantum, mechanic here, our own little quantum field. And I want it to feel good for everyone, because that's how, once we know what it feels like, we seek it again.
Yeah.
We can recreate it again and again and get
So
the
you
formula.
can train your brain to actually look for happy things and look for, like, somebody's letting me go, and somebody's, when you're stuck in traffic, oh, like, this
Yes.
person let me pass. And
Yes.
the person in the grocery store gave me their coupon and said, like, keeping it. And, like, there's little things that we can look for every day.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Suzanne. I think
Yeah.
many things will trigger us off that path, but the first book that I wrote was actually about building a prosperity consciousness, and it starts with, you decide what emotion you're going to start your day with, and it goes into steps of gratitude and actually positive self-talk, which a lot of us do.
So Monday, my day was not like that. Because
Okay.
Monday I woke up and I did so many things, and I left the house by 9 o'clock, and I was all ready for it, and then I got a flat tire in front of a restaurant that was supposed to be open that wasn't. So I laughed
you got
at it,
you got a
yeah.
trigger right out of the gate, didn't you?
But I laughed at it.
Did you really?
I
Okay.
did, yeah. So,
You mitigated it then. You decided that wasn't going to define your day.
but it did, because 3 hours later I was like, come on, I just want to go home. But I just can't. But I think you can take that on, like swearing and cursing and yelling and just being mad, or you can turn it around and just laugh.
No doubt, no doubt. And
I
there's a
admire
lot
people like
about
you,
it.
because I think everybody, if you take a deep breath and you can actually go forward and not get that anger up, that you're addicted to, you can become a better person and you're happier.
And you affect everyone you encounter throughout the day. I mean, it's just a ripple effect. It just makes a profound difference. You become an earth angel for everyone else that encounters you that day, even
Nobody's
if
ever
things aren't
told me
right.
that,
That hat, it's coming. I can tell.
yeah, I do have wings and a halo. I watched on your YouTube exercise, you do some exercises.
Yes.
Could you give us a demonstration with those?
I can.
Okay. And I'm going to turn the stage over to you.
Okay.
And it's all yours.
Well, so there is a daily regimen that I do, and quite honestly, it is not my regimen. I'm going to give full props back to Donna Eden, who teaches energy medicine and is a profound example of those who start on the road of not being healthy first. You get to put that there, and experience what it's like to be challenged by not having answers outside of ourselves, and realizing I need to start with getting my own reflective answers internally. I'm going to start with my energy first, and I'm going to recognize that my body is a beautiful set of flows that we would call meridians and chakras and energy centers, and so she recommended starting every single day with bringing your body's energies online. And the first, I'll just go through the first and then kind of the last step. The first step was to be very powerful about the breath. The breath of life, think about an infant taking their first breath when they're born. That is such a powerful moment, because it also symbolically, spiritually signifies them claiming their life, them owning their body. They're bringing their presence into the world. A lot of us breathe shallow, right? A lot of us have learned how to restrict our throat chakra, kind of cape in, not make people uncomfortable, hold it during board meetings, deal with pent-up rage. So a lot of us don't breathe normally anymore as adults. And so her first thing is tap these two energy points right here that are called K21s. And tap those areas, and at the same time, bring this breath in that just feels like you're bringing it up from the earth, because we're bringing that up through root chakra, down through our crown. And just feel the difference. Do it with your eyes closed or open. Just taking the breath makes you feel different. And when you do that, you redirect your body to bring energy into itself so that you aren't another energy-depleted human vampire. We know who those people are. They're our children. They're our mother-in-laws. They're the boss at work that's always cracked out on coffee at 2 PM, and they're cranky all the time. And so you are now running your own energy. You just commanded your energy back into your body, into your field, and now you're more purposeful. There are several more steps, but in the interest of time, the last one is equally important, and I would say that it is just essential. We are all in this wonderful pool of energies that we all share, where I end and you begin has no clear boundary, or it's all permeable. So I believe that shielding is a good idea because basically what you're saying is I'm going to keep my junk to myself while I'm working on it and clearing it and being reflective, and I'm going to make myself as permeable as is healthy for you and me. And she says, bring the hands together, think about, Karate Kid for all of you 80s folks or beyond, and then shake it out. And then you chop from behind the head because we believe that there are key meridians and energy centers, kind of like an auric field all the way around us. And it looks like this with the breath. Clearing all the energy on the backside, and I literally envision it as I come up over my head. All the way down the body. And all the way to the floor. In this case, it'll be the stage. Now get clear. Set your intention. What kind of day do you want to have? How do you want to feel? What do you want to have as your give and exchange? And then build the shield coming right back up from the floor. And sweep over the head. And just see that veil draping down directly behind you. And then just bring the hands into kind of that open, all you yoga folks out there, hold that open in a tree pose, open palm, and give thanks because your life is great. There's so many amazing things that you've already done and that you're about to experience and people that you're going to connect with, and miracles are happening every day. And just bring it into namaste and let it go. And take your day the direction you want it to go. And I'm forever grateful. I got to learn that on stage with her, and she directed me to keep my energy much more clear, because apparently I was out in the audience, but I had not shielded myself as the eternal mother that I am. So we're always learning from one another, and that was one of those that I think is something that could serve all of us, is just create your day deliberately, shield yourself, and then go easy on yourself for the rest of the day. I want to express gratitude for everyone that's here. So many of you have been deeply influential in my experience. You have contributed to the book. Some of you are mentioned in my book. I won't name anybody. And there has been such a pull of support to get it done, and obviously to be present at this first premiere book signing. I am grateful to be here working with Suzanne and Dave. I am a local resident of Wake Forest. I'm an author. I wanted to promote them as bookstores. How many of us can just really quickly get on Amazon or Barnes & Noble? These are the places that make us feel connected to each other and connected to something tangible. And that's what the book is. It is something you can get your hands around. It's supposed to be meaty. So I'm very grateful to them for providing it and for all those that are helping to capture the moment. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I want you to mix and mingle. I want you to enjoy this tiramisu cake from Sal and Vanessa at La Viva Dolce, because he went to town on that. Have some wine. And again, cheers to all of you. Thank you for being here.
That's it?
I was going to do the reading. Should I still do that, or are we running tight on time?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. I call this the Soulful Declaration, and there's a reason for that. The chicken in me that did not want to be the weird one, I could do it in session, I could tell my friends, but I didn't want to be known in any public way as being that peculiar, and didn't want to finish the book, was the Reluctant Intuitive. And those of you that are familiar with the graphic on the book, and have seen The Matrix, or are familiar with the idea of the wake-up pill as opposed to the stay in the dream, stay in the illusion. I am wearing red today because I am choosing to be awake. I'm choosing to be awake and alive and definitely present for it. But we know that there's a lot of people that don't want to have their safe spaces interrupted. We know a lot of people that want to stay very comfortably in their belief systems, and that's okay. Their time will come and they will grow at their own pace. But my resistance ultimately helped me through an intuitive meditative moment to write the Soulful Declaration, so that I could let go of and make peace with my reluctance. I am the Reluctant Intuitive. There was no comfortable way to describe myself as a medium or a psychic by any means. My natural reaction was to recoil from these labels and search deep within me to find something that rang true. Wasn't it enough that I was open to the messages that came through to me in session, demonstrating more than what I was comfortable with and demanding to be revealed through me? And now to be yet another witness to this great mystery and leave my mark with this writing. I am held hostage to this burdensome task. Because the great mystery would not heed my desire to remain hidden safe and unknown. Bear the light, stay the course, and risk being known, questioned, and even ridiculed. This message was not mine alone, for it is universal. All souls yearn for it, even my voice. So serve larger, bear witness, and write. Then publish. Only then may I know what is next. So I don't know what's next, but let's co-create together. This should be a lot of fun.
It was written by someone who could absolutely be a best-selling author, because I like to call it word porn, because who doesn't love listening to her? She's so good. She has you on the edge of her seat. She draws you in, and she has a way of capturing so eloquently what so many of us are feeling, and it's a jumbled up mess inside. And so I would love everyone to know that she has all the makings of a best-selling author, and she walks into a room and she is light. And if you just come humbly and read the book with an open mind, you will probably see a reflection of a lot of your own self in there.
I thought it went phenomenal. I have the pleasure of getting to experience these kind of talks all the time. I'm a good communicator, but not like my wife. She pulls interest in topics, I guess you could say. People just kind of sit, listen, and all of a sudden be drawn in. So I think this went really well.
I'm really proud of her for having done this, because it is a huge feat to take that much personal experience and so many delicate subjects and so many things that are still a little bit controversial to speak about in public with such clarity, and to put it all out there in a book and complete it, publish it, ship it, I think it's impressive.
Hi, I'm Nakoa Dunn, and I just want to say how grateful I am to Tatiana. I am so proud of her. I have been a friend of hers and a client for the past 7+ years, and my life wouldn't be as good as it is and as grounded as it now is after the work I've done with her if it hadn't been for that. So I know that this book is going to be profound for the people who read it, and I bought my copy. And I can't wait to read it myself and put into practice some of the things that I know will help me continue to grow in my lifetime. So congratulations, my dear. You're the best, and you deserve all of this attention and all the recognition that comes along with this. Well done.
It's the law of the land that we all move together, each in a space of our own. It's the laws of physics that'll jump up and claim you on the side of the highway of the crosses and stone. Sometimes in the mountains, and I come around a corner and I see nothing but sky. Them clouds are so close you could reach up and touch them all. Sometimes I feel I can fly. Not like the times in the city when I'm bogged down in traffic and I'm unable to drive. My blood starts to boil.